My name is Nicholas Melillo, A.K.A. Nick Agua, owner and blender for Foundation Cigar Company. I really appreciate you guys having me. Apologize for not making the last meeting, but to all your members, yeah, I've been in the cigar industry since 1996. I started running a cigar shop called the Calabash Shop in Hamden, Connecticut in 1996. I was 18 when I started, and I really grew a love for cigars via my grandfather. All my grandfathers smoked Connecticut cigars. So up into the late end of the 90s, there was a lot of cigar brands here in Connecticut. And of course, we have an infamous growing region up north of Hartford, Connecticut, in the Connecticut River Valley, where we actually have Foundation's offices. But I kind of grew up with the aroma of broadleaf and Connecticut brands. So here in New Haven, Connecticut, you had a ton of brands: FD Grave, Topper, Topstone. These were brands that had really great distribution, and kind of everybody knew about them. And my grandfathers were connoisseurs of Connecticut cigars. So when I was about 18, having a cigar for the first time with my grandfather really opened up this world of cigar smoking. It was really like a coming of age for me. And I just dove in head first, started learning everything I could about the history of tobacco, the process of handmade cigars, all of the brands at the time. And that time in 96 was the height of what we called the cigar boom. So it was a really exciting time, and also kind of a crazy time because everybody and their brother was trying to make a cigar brand at the time. We call them Don Nobodies, a lot of which, these brands aren't around anymore. But I frequented this shop every Friday called the Calabash Shop, and I just graduated high school. And I thought, man, the coolest job I could get right now would be working at a cigar store. So June 96, finally got to the front. At that time, there was literally lines out the humidor because it was that was the cigar boom. I mean, you'd have to wait to get in the humidor like a good half hour. So I finally made it up to the register that day, and there was two ladies that ran the cigar shop. And I gave them my email, just got email for the first time, and my phone number. And I said, listen, I know every cigar in that humidor, would love to work for you. Never heard from them for like 2 months. A week before I started university, I got the call to come work at the shop. And they really gave a lot of confidence in my ability and my love for cigars, and right away put me in charge of the humidor and bringing on new brands. And that really started my cigar career in 1996. So I was going to school for international business that was 96. So like 98, I met some people from an unknown cigar company called Drew Estate. And they were making a cigar called Samaro, which nobody remembers. It was god awful. I didn't bring it into the humidor, but the sales rep kept coming back. And finally, they came out with a product called La Vieja Habana, which was being made by Nick Perdomo. And I brought those into the store. And that was, 98 around. That's the first time I met John Drew. We sort of kept in touch from 98 to about 2002. I had left in 2000 to live in Italy. I backpacked around Italy. I worked with the Vatican that year for the Grand Jubilee in the year 2000, and came back to work on my master's degree. Wasn't feeling it being back in a classroom. Ended up getting another job in Italy for an Italian Renaissance art history tour with high school kids from the States. That was pretty amazing. Siena to Florence to Rome. I chaperoned and assistant taught Italian. And then I said, I don't want to come back to class and finish my master's degree. So I bought an around the world ticket for $1,500. And after my job in Italy, I ended up circumnavigating the globe, and John Drew happened to be on my email list. So I think at some point the light bulb went off and said, I think he might be willing to travel to Nicaragua. And, early 2000s, Nicaragua was still, not a tourist destination by any means. The image of Nicaragua has sort of changed over the past 17 years. But, I was traveling through Thailand, Southeast Asia, Vietnam, China. So I ended up getting to Japan, and I got an email from John JD, and he said, call me. I obviously have some serious shit to talk to you about. So I called him. What's going on, man? I want you to come to Nicaragua, and I want you to be my right-hand man. Now, you got to remember, Drew Estate was a fraction of the current size. They were working out of the back of Perdomo's old house because Perdomo had just moved into his new factory. So after a year traveling around the world, I flew to the States for about a month and then flew down to Nicaragua in March of 2003 and never really left. So hung out for a week. John said, "You want the job?" I said, "Most definitely." And then he took off after a week and said, "Figure it out." So basically, I just, here I am, 24, totally in love with cigars. And I just started immersing myself in the process. And I was coming off of an international business degree, love for cigars. So it was really perfect timing to really prove myself. I said, now it's time to really, prove in real life what I can bring to the table. And I started learning, the whole process, and then eventually started working with the team. I was fortunate to be brought into an amazing team. We were all super young, 24, 25. I think the oldest person on the team was the accountant, which was 35 maybe at the time. And, you got to remember, DE at that time was known as the flavored guys. We were seen as kind of a joke amongst, the traditionalists. And I didn't smoke flavored cigars. It wasn't my cup of tea, but working the retail, I definitely understood the position of infused cigars for a retail shop and for smokers. So I just started automatically just becoming the head of Tobacco Pert. It just happened kind of naturally. And then I just started learning how to roll, how to bunch. I was behind the scenes because I didn't smoke a lot of the stuff we were making at the time, rolling and blending, experimenting, what was a cigar guy to do, being now amongst all these legends that I've read about and, now working with the raw leaf. So I started to really begin to understand where a lot of the flavor profiles were coming from cigars that I loved, right? I mean, I loved, at that time, there was a lot of Dominicans, Dominicans were kind of dominating. And, I was a big Fuente Padron fan. So I really started to, get to know tobaccos and experiment with them and blending. So from like 03 to like 06, I had, worked on a number of blends behind the scenes. I ended up working on a lot of the infused blends and becoming responsible for finalizing and making up, those formulas. And then really around the end of 05, 06, family started curing Connecticut broadleaf in Nicaragua. I'm here, 26 in the north of Nicaragua, and here I'm looking at Connecticut broadleaf. It brought up a lot, as you can imagine, being away from home for so long, and here's tobacco from mi tierra, my lands. And so I ended up taking samples of the broadleaf, and I ended up, out of all of these blends that I had been really playing around with from like 03 to that point, I ended up making up 10 blends with the Connecticut broadleaf. Now, this is around the same time that Saka came on board. He was hired. So Steve at one point called me from Miami and was like, send me something I can effing smoke. And, you know, Steve's whole purpose was to, you know, come in and market and move us into that traditional world, which we basically didn't have many, you know, traditional blends. And I ended up sending Steve 10 blends, and then he started chain smoking them. And eventually that developed into League of Nine. And yeah, I just then from that point was just really the one responsible for all the blending, the tobacco purchasing, the production planning, everything that had to do with Nicaraguan operations. So that's been really my experience, you know, traveling to different countries, Mexico, Ecuador, you know, purchasing, inspecting tobacco. So yeah, I did that up until 2014. And, you know, I said to myself, with all this craziness happening with the FDA and what was going on with all this, you know, potential legislation, I said, if I don't start my own company now, I probably won't. You know, I probably, and I had a great position and job, you know, at DE. Like, I mean, I had a fantastic position, but I knew if I didn't do it, I'd always regret it. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I felt like at that point I had built up enough experience to really spread my wings. And you know, I hadn't worked on a lot of the branding and packaging side. One of the only brands I really worked on at D was Nica Rustica, which Steve had started that project and then he left, and I ended up finalizing that. And I also did the blend for that one, but I really, you know, wanted to, you know, be involved on the creative side of things. So 2014, I ended up leaving DE, which was probably one of the most difficult decisions of my life. You know, you can imagine being a foreigner living in another country, you know, work is kind of like everything. Like you're there for work. So, you know, the team there had become like my family, you know. Most of them I'm still close with. So that was like the most difficult part, was like leaving, you know, kind of that family kind of work vibe. But again, I knew if I didn't do it, I'd regret it. So we ended up launching Foundation Cigars at the trade show IPCPR in 2015. And I started with one brand and blend called Way Wednesday. I thought I challenged the market linguistically. You know, this is really my passion, you know, project as far as being a first blend and brand. Way Wednesday, which means the wise man. You know, I knew I wanted to do 100% Nicaraguan blend, filler binder wrapper, which behind the scenes I had worked on blends, you know, puros 100%. But nothing that came to market. So I knew for the first one, this has been my experience, Nicaragua, you know, the depths of it. And it's become like a very special place, an important place in my life, of course. And I also knew I wanted to pay tribute to the culture of Nicaragua. And discovering the Huehuense as being the oldest indigenous satire of the Western Hemisphere. This is actually protected by UNESCO as a cultural treasure of the world. I had no idea about it before living in Nicaragua. You know, most people don't. But I felt like it was very important to represent the brand, represent Nicaraguan culture. And there was nothing more to me that represented the really the heart and soul of Nicaragua than Huehuense. No matter what religious, political, every Nicaraguan knows the Huehuense. This is a really amazing dance that happens in the south of Nicaragua. It's been happening since the late 1500s. And really what you're seeing is masks, is the imagery that you're seeing. My art director, who's from Esteli, who's one of my best friends, Um, we worked side to side on everything. He did an amazing job on the artwork. I also knew at the time that nobody knew who I was, right? For 2015, nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew, kind of my experience. The people that did know were definitely more of the hardcore smokers, right? Or hardcore smokers, and also shops that I had met. I would go to the trade show every year, and, I knew a lot of shops. So I was really focusing in on those hardcore guys and the hardcore shops because I knew they would understand and appreciate Way Wednesday, this cigar and this name that people can hardly pronounce, but that was the kind of the main focus, and we started from there, man. That was the cornerstone, and got #1 consensus cigar the first year, which was a great honor. We made Cigar Aficionado top 20.
Going into the Way Wednesday, how'd you decide on the general marketing for Foundation? It seems like you're pulling a lot of stuff from, the culture, but like Tabernacle, Upsetters, some of the other lines. How did you guys land on that? Was it just trying to pay tribute?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, it started with the blend, right? I knew I wanted to do 100% Nicaraguan blend. I had worked with Aganorsa Leaf for many, many years. A buddy of mine, Dion Giolito, was down back, in 2014 after I had just left. We kind of became close years ago working on a project probably in 08, 09. He was like, come over, check out the factory, because a lot of his production, he had moved to Nicaragua. And I mean, there's just something. Nicaraguan wrapper leaf is one of the more difficult to grow. I've never seen out of any year until these past couple of years more wrapper leaf being grown or experimented in Nicaragua. But in order to get a more silky, thinner, less veiny leaf in Nicaragua is difficult because of the soil and the sun exposure. So it has to be grown under shaded tents, and it usually has to be grown in Jalapa because the soil's a little bit lighter, a little bit sandier, and you can get more of that texture of, wrapper style tobacco. And working with Eduardo Fernandez and his team, they do some of the best wrapper leaf in Nicaragua. So that was kind of the basis of it. And then, my art director, I call him Thief Operandi. That's his artistic name. We both are it's like peanut butter and jelly, man. We have a lot of the same interests, and we love history, culture, ancient history. So you definitely see that throughout all of, the portfolio of Foundation. So it just made sense for a first brand, just to really show my love for Nicaragua and kind of what it's meant to me. Obviously, I knew it was going to be a difficult one for people to pronounce, but it was also, Nicaragua had their eyes on it. So I really wanted to do justice to the Nicaraguan people on it as the first project. The root of culture is language. So for the first one, it was, when we had it in English, it was tough. So we kind of planned that out, that, we were not that clueless that it was going to be difficult to pronounce. So we knew, the Maduro, we were going to change it up. And, as you see the other brands, a little bit less challenging linguistically. But I felt like it was one of those words that, at least if you can't pronounce it, it carries a big impact. And if you really want to understand Nicaragua and Nicaraguan culture, I mean, the Huehuense is at the root of it all. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, on that line, so what's your favorite blend in your own lines?
Man, that's a tough
current
question.
favorite. current favorite. Not asking you to pick your favorite kid or anything. Just, you know.
That's a tough one. Current favorite, I tend to go in and out as far as weekly what I'm smoking. I'm a nut too when it comes to quality control. So I'm kind of smoking through things and testing, even from this end of things to make sure everything's on point. I've been smoking, I was smoking High Clare Castle Victorian Robustos. That was a big one I was smoking.
That's what I'm smoking this morning.
Are you? Yeah. I went through a box of those and, then I switch up, the Wednesday 5-year, which we're hopefully going to start shipping in the next couple of weeks. In a lot of those, of course, just confirming and making sure the blends are on point. I have some special treats that we're probably going to announce next week. So I'm doing a couple line extensions on the Tabernacle. Yeah. So some Perfectos. This is like the year of the Perfectos. Yeah. So you probably see that announcement coming, I think at the end of the week or next week. So I've been smoking a lot of those, been getting a lot of, things air-shipped to me. So I'm constantly on WhatsApp direct with the production floor, and we're air shipping back and forth. So, each of my blends really, it sort of evolved kind of naturally in how I wish I could say before it was like some grand master, plan or scheme, but I tried to approach it in the sense of being in the shop, right? Throughout the course of a day, you have so many people walking through the door, so many different palettes. And not everybody likes the same thing. I mean, that's the beauty of everything. And I really tried to develop a portfolio of blends and brands that you could recommend to anyone coming through that door. So if you only had foundation in the humidor, from price points to blends, I really was kind of looking to, develop blends because I also like different blends at different times. I definitely prefer fuller, a little bit stronger, more complex. Tabernacle broadleaf is definitely, on the top of my list to answer your question more directly. But I like milder cigars sometimes. I like medium bodied cigars. But I definitely personally tend to go towards the more, fuller bodied style smokes.
So on that note too, how much do you smoke of other things in the industry to kind of, do you let any of that inform what you're doing, or is it more homegrown than that? Do you have anything outside of the line that you're really loving right now?
Don't smoke enough of other people's stuff to really, gauge it. I think, Dion from Illusion, I definitely love a lot of the stuff he's doing. I've always been a Padron fan. I smoke some of those Eye of the Sharks, which I have a bunch here, but there's just so much going on constantly as far as quality control. And, I'm a cigar smoker, right? So I know what it's like when you get something that's off or, doesn't draw. So my whole, point in existence is to make sure that that doesn't happen. Because I know that's the last thing I want to happen as a cigar smoker. So in order to do that, unfortunately, I don't get to smoke a lot of different things. Sometimes a lot of people give me different sticks and I do smoke them, from time to time, but I like to at least smoke, a good 3 to 5 sticks to kind of really get a gauge. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time a lot of the times.
I hear you on that front.
Yeah.
So when you're, this kind of segues back into favorite stuff in the foundation line, of course. When you're blending, do you blend with like a preferred vitola in mind, and then kind of iterate and tweak blends for other sizes, or do you have a preferred vitola in general? But
6x52 Toro was always my size. So in the 90s, the 6x52 Toro was my ideal size. So I always felt ring gauge wise and lengthwise, it really gave you a good sense of what you're getting from the filler tobaccos, from the binder, from the wrapper. So that was consistently, personally, my favorite size. So automatically, when I moved to Nicaragua and started blending and then rolling, I always did everything in 6x52s.
Cool.
And I smoke pipe, as you can see.
That's actually one of our other questions toward the end of the list here was do you use any other tobacco products, pipes, snuff, anything like that? Because that's coming from a cigar shop culture, like that's definitely a thing.
Gotta love the pipe, especially in the fall.
Yep.
I have a very vast collection of pipes. I was fortunate to inherit my grandfather's 50, 60 years worth of pipes.
Nice.
So one of my grandfathers was a pipe and cigar smoker, but the pipe was like his main thing. And he smoked a lot of like Lanceros. That was his pipe of choice. So when I moved to Italy in 2000, I ended up befriending a really amazing pipe maker, two pipe makers called Massimo Musico and Pablo Becker. They made a brand called Becker and Musico. A lot of people don't know about them because they really only exported to the USA maybe in the late 90s, early 2000s, but mainly their production was just for Italy and kind of local European markets. So I ended up walking in the shop. If you're ever in Rome, anybody, you're looking at the Trevi Fountain, literally 2 doors behind you, there's a shop called Becker and Musico. And it's this beautiful, pipe. They have like canes and kind of nice chest sets and that type of high-end woodworkings. And I walked in there one day. I had a shirt kind of like with the image of the guy on the tabernacle, Haile Selassie. The guy came out behind the counter. He's like, "What's going on, Rasta man?" He had a very thick Italian accent. "What's going on?" He said, "Yeah, just traveling." There was no signage on the door, so I had no idea, what the name of the shop was. And he's like, "Yeah, what are you doing?" I said, "I used to run a cigar shop." He's like, "Oh yeah, did you sell pipes?" "Yeah, I sold Savinelli's, Peterson, Becker and Musico." And he goes, "Becker and Musico? I am Massimo Musico." Like, what?
Nice.
"I am Massimo Musico." I was like, no kidding. And we became best friends. He was a big reggae fan. His dad, it was like, I call him the yogi master of like pipes and literally like yoga. He's like, you would never think he was into yoga at all. And he was like the yogi master. And we spent a lot of time together, man. We became really good friends. I used to spend every day in that shop because I usually didn't work till kind of later. And man, it was in one of the most touristy places in Rome, but the people who hung out there were Romans, politicians, businessmen.
Was the haven for locals.
Haven for locals, man. It was
Super cool.
really amazing. Yeah. And that's really kind of where the foundation name comes from. So eventually Massimo Musico started a co-op of pipe makers. So it was like this group of pipe makers in Rome. This is like super small batch, hard to get. And he ended up calling it Foundation by Massimo Musico. So when I was looking for, as you know, like in this industry, trademarking names is crazy. Like if you don't have the name secured, like you better get it secured. So Foundation didn't come up in the United States trademark. So I called Massimo up and I said, "Massimo, I'm starting a cigar company." I said, your mark isn't registered in the States, but you should definitely get it registered just in case. And I said, I'm starting a cigar company. What do you think if I used the name Foundation? He said, Nicholas, you are the cigar maker. I am the pipe maker. It would be my honor for you to use Foundation. So he gave me his blessing. And, Foundation, the word, especially amongst guys like Massimo and I in the reggae scene, the word comes up a lot. It's like you don't do anything without a strong foundation. So that's kind of where the name kind of originally kind of comes from. But yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That also kind of segues into a question that we had. What's your favorite like tobacco cigar shop kind of experience? As far as like cool places you've been, great things you enjoy about lounges and shops in general.
Yeah, I mean that looks like my kind of shop back there. Ambiance is crucial. Of course, selection, knowledge, you always know when you're in a great cigar shop because people are knowledgeable about the products that they have in their humidor. I think that's crucial to the experience. And really just creating a good vibe for, the cigar shop is probably one of the coolest places on earth where, all different walks of life and people end up congregating when they probably wouldn't necessarily congregate together. So that really had me from the beginning, right? Being 18, being in a shop and then meeting guys, rich, poor, everything in between, all political, religious, that really taught me a lot, just about life in general.
That's what got me into the industry was, the true diversity of everybody, working there and patronizing.
Yeah, crucial. Having pipes is a big one for me. So you guys got me right away. I mean, I love, a lot of shops. I think, traditionally cigar shop tobacconists always had pipes in cigars. I think that kind of shifted when the cigar boom hit and people just went full in just on the cigar side of things. The pipe game is kind of is tough, as you know, and unfortunately, some of the taxes on pipe tobaccos and this and that kind of made it even more difficult. But
I think we're one of the last surviving low tobacco tax states.
Yeah. So, who are some of the most influential people in your cigar making journey?
Wow. Some of my most influential. There's a lot of people behind the scenes on the tobacco side of things that have kind of really become my mentors over the years. There's a particular gentleman called Gustavo Cura who works for Leva, not the cigar company, but the tobacco family. Yeah. He's definitely become one of my mentors in the business, being in Nicaragua at 24, not really knowing much about that side of the business. He's one that really always treated me, not like a complete idiot. Being down there and being so green. So he's definitely been a mentor. I mean, definitely, John Drew and DE, that experience and him giving me the opportunity, for that job is definitely, been a big influence in my life and, just the company as a whole.
What was it like being at Drew during like the transition from the stigma of flavored stuff through the transition into, super mainstream cigars?
It was pretty amazing, but it was a lot of work, man. A lot of work because we all knew that we had eyes on us. So we all treated it with the utmost, discipline and attention to detail. And, working with Steve, we just worked really well together, because we both understood the importance and the eyes that were on us and how we had to break that. That was a big hurdle to overcome. Um, but, we were able to do that with an amazing product and an amazing blend and then an amazing brand. And we never moved the bar. And I think guys started realizing like, oh, okay, these guys may make and produce some of the greatest infused stuff, but they're hardcore traditionalists at their core. So it definitely took some time. Like the first year Liga didn't sell at all. And then, I think the blend just kind of was blowing people away. Anybody that picked it up, it was like kind of undeniable. Kind of had everything you wanted.
Yeah. What would you say to a consumer thinking about getting into the industry, either on the manufacturing side, on the retail side, or even on the agricultural side?
I think so. A consumer that was looking to get into the business more, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
I always think the store is a good place to start, just to get a general awareness of the business, right? Because in the store, you're able to see, you're sort of at the end of the process, but one of the most, important parts of the process is really understanding consumers, understanding blends, understanding branding, understanding the business side of things. So I think that's always a good place to start. It's difficult because for me, things just sort of happened. It wasn't like I was searching it necessarily, like searching it out that way. It's just sort of, I was just kind of making moves and, just kind of following my passion and dreams at the time. And it just sort of kind of fell into place. But, getting in the tobacco side of things, or, you really would have to start like apprentices, like apprenticeship, and really learning, starting to learn the farming side of things, knowing tobacco. And that just takes time, right?
Yep.
I mean,
So with all of your experience in the world that you have now, if you could start over again but keep all of it, what would you change?
Oh man. I don't know if I would change much, man. I think more like personal life stuff I would change, because maybe devote a little bit more time to personal life. So, I mean, to really accomplish, what we did at DE, and now 5 years in at Foundation, like it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm learning now, like the importance of, taking more time, personal time, because time just goes by so fast. But I don't know, what I would really change. I mean, I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of amazing people, and my journey has been really, really awesome. And I've been really thankful for it. So I don't know. I don't know if I would change anything,
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
It's a good journey, right?
I always see things as like, when they happen, they're happening just the way I interpret it for a reason, and then using that to like change or grow or, shift. So I never see things in kind of like wish they never happened, or kind of, I see them like, okay, they happened for a reason. Now, is it something you preferred or didn't prefer? Like then shift to, doing stuff you prefer.
I hear you. Well, now that left you with a super heavy question. Let's lighten it up to kind of close it out with a couple of rapid fires.
Too. Like, I'll think of things after this interview and be like, oh man.
So a couple of really lighthearted rapid fire style questions here. So favorite cigar pairing. So beverage, food, what have you to pair with the cigar or with the pipe?
I am a coffee fanatic. So my days start at the production floor, either testing on the floor, rolling something up, testing bale, and a nice café con leche. To me, especially certain blends, the tobacco just has that, a lot of complementing flavors to coffee. So
one from one of our members that is a fun, silly question. If you could be any animal, what would you be?
Really?
Yep. And, hipster interview style with like Google or what have you. Apparently that's something they ask nowadays.
Yeah, I would probably say a lion.
All right.
Or a bear, like a big grizzly bear. Sometimes people call me a bear. They say my spirit animal is a bear.
What are some of your other hobbies besides tobacco?
Let's see. Hobbies.
Or
Hike.
interests?
Love to hike. Starting to do the hiking thing even more. Always been a basketball player, believe it or not. Basketball was always my sport. Music. Love music. Like, music is definitely a very integral part of my life. I don't know what I'd do without it. Before all this stuff went down, I definitely love, like live music. And, some friends of mine are musicians, and we ended up shooting a music video down in Nicaragua. They made me a song called Foundation. So it was kind of a fun project we did last year. And they're a husband and wife team called the Reminders, like hip hop, kind of reggae, soul, R&B. And they wrote an amazing song. So I was like, we got to shoot a music video.
Is that the kind of thing we can find on YouTube later?
Yeah, look up the Reminders Foundation, or if you just go to the Foundation YouTube channel, we're trying to get more and more content, but it's on there. It's one of our biggest viewed videos. I think it has like 250,000 views or something like that. But yeah, it's just called Foundation. It's great because I didn't want it to be like an advertisement or like a cheesy kind of like, advertisement song. So they really captured like really the heart and soul of kind of what the company's all about and what we've been going through. So, a lot of guys and gals in the hip hop community, a lot of them as they've gotten older have become really big cigar connoisseurs. So we know a lot of people in the music industry that are big cigar lovers. So I said, man, nobody's ever shot a hip hop video on a factory floor or in the fields before. So we kind of rode this wave of creativity. They sent me the song last year in May. I heard it, I freaked out, and I said, we got to put a visual behind this, because for the trade show that year, we were doing a lot of videos. I was shooting a Seed to Cigar video, which I highly recommend you guys check out. It's a time lapse. It's about an 11-minute short film, starts with seeds in my hand, and then goes time lapse all the way through the process to the packaging of the box.
Nice.
There's two versions we have on our YouTube. There's one, a short, like a 1 minute, and then there's a 10-minute short film. So we were doing a lot of video work. So when they sent me the song, I said, man, we got to make this happen. That year, the trade show was happening very early at the end of June. There was only 2 days that worked for them. They were traveling. They travel a lot, my friends, for performances. We flew into Nicaragua on a Monday. We shot Tuesday, Wednesday, and they flew out Thursday. And the trade show was the following Thursday. So wow. My art team, my videographer edited and just did an amazing job. So yeah, definitely check it out. I mean, well, if you like music in general, if you like cigar factories, I mean, it's a great one. So They did an amazing job.
Well, with that's kind of the end of our questions that we've got for you. So, is there anything that you'd want to leave like our members or fans of Foundation in general? Anything cool coming up that you want to kind of tease or anything like that?
Definitely. Well, first, I just appreciate everybody's support. I appreciate you guys for having me, and I hope one day I can talk to your members again. So we're releasing our 5-year anniversary cigar. It's a 4 3/4 by 60 Perfecto. That's going to be probably shipping within the next couple of weeks. Because of everything going on in the world, it's been kind of slow to get everything done for the project. So it's taken a little bit longer than I had hoped, but that's going to start shipping, within the next couple of weeks. We just started shipping Charter Oak Habano, which is starting to ship around the country right now. And then within the next week or so, you're going to see the announcement for a couple sizes line extension on the Tabernacle broadleaf. So there's going to be 2 different Perfectos, which, the Perfecto sizes are kind of, here in Connecticut, the Perfecto size at one point was like the size of choice. Like that's all guys would smoke were the short Perfectos, especially back in like the mid 50s. And it's definitely more of those specialty sizes, but can't get enough of these broadleaf Perfectos. So keep a lookout there. We always have a lot of exciting content. Definitely check out our YouTube channel for that Seed to Cigar. I think a lot of your listeners would really enjoy that, because so many people ask me about the process. They haven't had a chance to get to Nicaragua or Dominican or Honduras. So it's a really cool video, to see kind of the whole process condensed in, 10-minute short film. So
we'll tag it when we post the video of this.
Cool. That would be great.
I think a lot of our guests would love to watch it too. So that'd be really great.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate you.
Guys, my pleasure. My pleasure.